In this video, we're investigating leadership. How do you become an effective leader, an efficient leader? How do you become a great leader? Laura, lovely to speak with you.
Thank you.
You are way into this leadership space.
Yes.
Tell me, you've been dealing with leadership coaching and so forth for 20-something years. What are the big pieces that make a leader more efficient, more effective?
Yeah. So the bottom line, I think, to great leadership is actually the inside game. It's the mindset that a leader needs to be very aware of. What is the thinking that's going on that's driving certain behavior to get the outcomes we want? So much of what leadership development has been in the past has been about if you behave a certain way, you will get a certain outcome. And what the research shows is that it's only like 10 to 30% of the time that actually really happens to make change really go and be successful, compared to if you start with mindset and how one leader thinks, you can actually make change happen 60, 70, 80% of the time. It's very compelling.
By changing the
mindset,
mind
changing the
game.
mindset.
You've been around leaders of Fortune 500, I should say Fortune 100 companies,
Yes.
some of the big global organizations,
Yes.
and you've seen firsthand over the course of decades how these leaders work. Are there any patterns that have emerged, anything that turns out to be kind of a priority?
Yeah, it used to be, and this is where over decades watching how leaders are successful, where it used to be when I first started out, if it was the charismatic leader, or the one who had more command and control kind of feeling to them. And then as time passed, probably about 20 years ago, it really started shifting to what we noticed was more facilitative. So that it was a leader who was able to get more out of others versus being the source of all the power. And through the facilitative part, it's evolved to probably in the most recent past, because of diversity and inclusion work, because what's happening, especially in the United States, but anywhere I've gone globally and I've taught this kind of work, people who are coming from different cultures, different backgrounds, the focus now is evolving even more to a leader that's more conscious and more inclusive in the way they lead others and they engage people who are different than themselves. So it's a very cool evolution, but really one that is very basic in its premise. It's just, be a good person, help others, drive, get clarity on their accountability.
One other trend, you spoke about being inclusive and diversity and so on.
Yeah.
And this is kind of left field. We didn't talk about this, but I want to ask anyway.
Yeah.
I'm very personally interested in women in leadership. I have this kind of thing. Maybe I'm betraying my clan. I don't really know. I feel like women in leadership is a great play here, particularly, say, in politics.
Yes.
What's the evolution of women in leadership?
So this is a place where part of the research that I was mentioning, they realized the top quartile performers were actually approaching it more in a feminine way. It doesn't mean a woman way.
Right.
It was the feminine approach, which was using intuition, engaging people more in communication, trying to leverage the best out of people.
Sort of nurturing style?
Nurturing style, and what we've noticed is that it actually has more effect of success over a longer period of time. If you compare the two, within 1 to 2 years, they'll look the same in terms of results, but after the second year is when the intuitive approach and the leveraging and engaging actually outperforms the command and control.
So you're saying some kind of long-term estrogen injection technique?
That's definitely one way of putting it. I'm not going to sure I go there and advocate that. However,
maybe side effects.
Let's put it into real straightforward terms, in practical terms. If both sides, men and women, are getting more clear about their emotions and how their emotions drive themselves and behaviors, that's going to have a huge leg up. So it's the whole emotional intelligence work that enables the reading of those emotions to differentiate also with great success of leaders.
One personal soapbox of yours, I know you have a variety of books in this space, card decks and so on, is this idea of purpose. Now, I know that you are not in the purpose space, so to speak, because it's a cool thing to do. You're there because it actually has some pretty solid research or statistical results.
Huge.
Tell me about how purpose is important in the context of leadership.
Yeah, so the central question, what I've learned over the years and the decades literally now, is it comes back to a question of why are you here, I'm here, why are we here? And purpose, in the way I'm talking about it, is slightly different than mission, which is literally, why are we here? But purpose here is about what makes you tick, what makes me tick, how do we leverage the gifts, and are really seen. And this also comes back to the whole uniqueness and belonging piece we talked earlier about, as well as inclusion. I actually really believe that we would have far less of an issue globally if we really understood people beyond what we see. When we talk about the iceberg, you can see if someone is male or female. You can see the color of their skin. Less so the religion, but then you start digging deeper and all the things that are below that iceberg surface. My sense is that if we could focus on people's purpose, what's the gift that each person is bringing? Not who they are in their heritage and how they've been brought up.
How they look.
But who they are from the inside. And if leaders spent more time there, I am seeing it have a significant difference in how engagement occurs and outcomes of innovation and creativity happen.
Last question for you on leadership.
Yeah.
Again, you've been doing this for quite a good long while.
Yes.
With a lot of these sort of Fortune 100 type companies.
Yes.
Anecdotally, what are some of what is the most transformational or impactful experience that you've had watching a leader go from A to B in that work?
That's a great question.
Yeah, easy ones, right? I just give you the easy ones.
I know.
Also we prep you. It's written down here. Not really.
Not really. One story that was very powerful was working with a gentleman who is a general manager of Indonesia. And he had a very powerful purpose. And he really wanted to unleash the power of his people to be able to create great prosperity. I mean, huge, lovely, amazing opportunity there. And he was doing it. I mean, he was taking it. It was a meteoric rise in that country. What was interesting is during the time with him was that he would sit back and kind of have a Buddha belly and just say, spout off all these amazing accomplishments. Now, it impresses me, but it kind of actually, quite frankly, all these executives around who were at that level had that kind of track record. What was different for him was the last line in his bio was all about what did he love to do. So if you can picture this man, very stoic, very chairman-like, and then I asked him about this hobby of guitar. The man literally changed in a moment's notice, and he said, guitar? He picks up his phone and shows me, this one's my favorite. And I'm like, well, why? Like, all right, so who's your favorite band? He goes, Guns N' Roses. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I'm like, wait a second. All right, so why is this? And then he pulls out amplifiers. He goes, this amplifier, this one's my favorite. And I said, so why is this one your favorite? It's the loudest. And I'm like, oh my God, this is great. So his kid-like energy shifted. And noticing what happens in leadership is we bring a certain energy every day. We have a choice of how we show up. And if we are plugged in to our purpose, it's infectious. You can't help, I could see it, like you can feel it and hear it, like when you start talking about it, right? Mm-hmm. So I started saying, well, where is that showing up in your purpose statement? Because that was some of the work we were doing and helping him synthesize it. And he kind of looked at me, he said, it's missing. And I said, well, what would happen if we brought in, I said, who's like one of your favorite artists? I know Guns N' Roses. He goes, Eric Clapton. I got it. We're going to bring out the inner Eric Clapton of everyone so that they can produce the rock and roll in their lives. I'm like, yes, score. So that became his purpose. And it uses metaphors in a way for him that speak to him. Mm-hmm. Now, the power of the purpose became really a whole nother level of insight for him because he started using it for key decisions about his retirement and where he wanted to work. And could he live his purpose in this new environment? And that was going to be the question for him. And if he couldn't, he passed that opportunity, he would go to the next one. Mm. And that way he started making key decisions, was much happier, integrated something that was very passionate for him. And people loved it. It opened him up to be more vulnerable.
Well, that energy is obviously...
It's huge.
Is a sort of a delightful energy, even just the way you relate it.
Oh, he's magnificent.
I know we have lots of these videos to do, so let me wrap this one up by just asking if you can. This is a video about becoming an efficient, effective, great leader.
Yes.
If you had to distill this with reference to the purpose guide, if you wish, just one or two or three tips if I want to become a great leader, what do I do?
I think one is understand yourself. Number one, you can't lead yourself. You can't lead others without leading yourself. People can do it for a short amount of time, but it's faking it till you make it kind of thing, which sometimes we have to do, and is understandable. But the more you understand about how you think, what triggers you, the more aware you are of your own emotions, and notice where it slips you up, you're going to be very powerful if you can know and understand that. The second, I would say, is being able to then understand that for your people and what gets them going and what trips them up, and help make them more powerful in owning it so that they can grow and be something far beyond what they thought possible. And I think the last one, is being permeable. A colleague of mine, I love that word she brings up.
Yeah, what does that mean here?
Yeah, what it means is to be curious and flexible, so that depending upon the environment, just because what we see all the time in the executive coaching work we do is a leader will use the same technique for this new job, this new role, as they did over here. But the environment's changed, the project work has changed, the people have changed, and they expect that hammer will have the same impact over here, when in fact what they need is a jigsaw or a deck of cards or whatever it is to be separating out, because you have to be sensitive and calibrate and really pay attention to your environment. So the permeable part helps you take in the information, be curious, and be flexible to what's really needed.
Thank you so much. For insights like that and even more, please visit us online at pocketguidetopurpose.com or on social media through Facebook or right here on YouTube. Please feel free to like this video, share this video. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments section below. And of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos just like this.